It's the Locked On Flyers podcast for Tuesday, February 18th, your daily dose of Flyers news, analysis, and high quality content that is watching trade rumors swirl while Four Nations continues, including an incredible performance from Sam Ersson in net for Sweden.
Yeah, it was a good night.
You're Locked On Flyers, your daily podcast on the Philadelphia Flyers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, and thanks for making Locked On Flyers your first listen every day. I am Rachel Donner. I've been podcasting about the Flyers, the NHL, and hockey for a decade. I'm here, as always, with prospect expert and Flyers credentialed reporter for 19 years, Russ Cohen. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. To keep up with our latest episodes and Flyers news, you can find us at Locked On Flyers on all your favorite socials, and of course, here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We are going to get into Finland versus Canada that clinched a finals position for Team Canada and the Travi, as well as talk USA versus Sweden. But first, we want to talk about the continuing trade rumors out there and mention some former Flyers that are on the quarter century teams, which the NHL is still going on this. We talked
It's
about,
just like, are they going to stop at some point?
yeah, well, they decided to do the different countries in the Four Nations
Are they
tournament.
going to do a Young Stars quarter century team?
They should. They should. But former Flyer Chris Pronger is on the first team for Team Canada for their top Canadian team of the last 25 years, and I think that checks out.
Yeah, it checks out. I mean, nobody's arguing with that.
And after my own heart, I was so thrilled to see one Kimmo Timonen on the first team for Team Finland on their blue line, and I think he is definitely one of the best Flyers defensemen of all time. And so to see him recognized by the league as one of the top Finnish defensemen in the NHL of all time, or of the last 25 years anyway, was good to see.
Yeah, he was largely underrated for a lot of his career. Not all of it, but
Yeah.
for a lot of it. So, no, I agree.
Absolutely. There was nobody from the Flyers on Team USA or Sweden, but Johnny Gaudreau was on the second team for Team USA. So that was good to see.
Yeah, that was nice. He deserves it.
All right. So the trade rumors continue to swirl, as we said, during this Four Nations break. Nobody has pulled the trigger yet during the break on any
No, I mean,
deal,
there was
which is
just that one minor
interesting,
league
right?
trade. I think there's an unwritten thing like, while players are playing, don't trade them. So I just feel like it's not going to happen, only because of that. Now, it could still happen the minute games end. That's possible.
Right. That's what I'm wondering. Like, are there going to be deals made like on Friday, for
Right.
instance?
I think that could happen while guys are in the airport heading wherever.
I think that is a definite possibility there as well. And of course, Scott Laughton continues to be near the top of a lot of people's trade rumor lists. And Frank Saravalli had a really, I think, interesting article about some of the trade rumors out there. And Scott Laughton, it is suggested, according to him, and I think a couple others out there, that the Washington Capitals might be an interesting destination for him, which an in-division trade for the Flyers that isn't with Carolina, that's crazy town to me, right?
I mean, interesting destination is different than hearing discussions about this. It's way different. And my shot back on that would be doubtful that the Flyers would really trade with the Caps. Doubtful. And then also very doubtful that the Caps would ever give up a first-round pick for a guy of Laughton's age, because like the last time they gave up a first rounder that I can remember was Rasmus Sandin, and he was 22. Like, they'll do it for that, but I don't believe they would do it for someone like Laughton's age. So yeah, it's good talk.
Yeah, I mean, the asking price out there is still a first rounder, and I think the only interesting part of this to me is that the Washington Capitals can absolutely give up a 2026 first rounder if they're going all in this year, given that they've outperformed expectations. They want to make a strong playoff push. They do need that third line center right now. I think that is the only thing that's realistic to me about it, is that they might be
That's fair.
willing to give up that pick in this circumstance.
Just knowing that front office, I still don't think so, but I can't say no.
Yeah. Now, it makes me wonder if people are just kind of looking for different options because nobody's pulled the trigger on anything, like we said during this break. But yeah, like, I haven't heard as much about a potential trade with the Leafs. Doesn't mean it isn't happening or it hasn't been discussed
We've
behind.
heard it
But
early on, and then it kind of got squashed. And so there doesn't seem to be all that much traction. And again, when I talk to people that cover the Leafs or sort of know him, it's kind of like, yeah, it would be nice because he's from the area, but it just doesn't seem likely as far as the names are talked about. If for some reason, uh, it's not going to be one of the real youngsters there, then, maybe it'll happen. But they're A prospects. I question it.
yeah, I
And
do
that's
too.
their
And
A prospects. That doesn't mean they're A
right,
prospects in the league. That's just what the Leafs would say is an A prospect, just to make that clear.
right, which is a whole different
That's a
ball
whole different
game.
world because their
Yes.
prospect system isn't that deep.
No, it's not, and they always overinflate their assets
They do.
every single time, and I think to a large extent, like, the hockey zeitgeist overinflates
Yes.
the Leafs prospects as well, so there is that for sure. I think the Winnipeg Jets are still a
Oh, I
good
think they're more
option as
likely.
well.
Yeah, they're more likely. They have assets. They're probably a little more desperate if they feel like they can get to the cup because it's not like, they feel like they're a cup contender every year. So I think, yeah, Winnipeg is a more likely destination.
Yeah, I think so too. Now, Rasmus Ristolainen is still in the trade conversation despite being injured, and I find that fascinating. But I guess, like, they figure it's a minor injury and they'll
Mhm.
get him, within a few weeks, and that's close enough to make your playoff run and go into the playoffs here. But I think, again, Frank Saravalli, in this same article he was talking about Lawton, mentioned a possible deal with Dallas, and I think you have something to say about that.
I do. For the player Liam Bichel that they're talking about, a 6'7", 235-pound, really good skating, aggressive defenseman, that's not happening. And I can tell you it's not happening because I saw a video where Mark Janko, the assistant GM, sat down and gave an interview, and they asked him point blank, "Is he here to stay?" And he said, "Yeah, because of the Heiskanen injury." So why in the world would they
Right,
create another
right.
hole? They wouldn't. It wouldn't be.
Exactly,
It wouldn't be him.
exactly.
It would not be him.
And how does giving him up for Ristolainen, like, I feel like it's a net, like, it evens
Right.
out
It's
for
like.
Dallas in the grand scheme,
And
right?
the only reason I say creating a hole is because even Ristolainen can't play as physical as Liam Bichel can at the moment because Ristolainen does
Right.
still have an injury history. When he's good, he's good, but this kid could be something like, a real crusher in the league.
Yeah, and it makes me wonder, like, with rumors like this out there, like, what the realistic trade market is for Risto at this time, and is it going to be a very last minute decision on him based on his health, right at the
I think
deadline?
it is going to be last minute based on his health because, again, we talked about it last year. He was on the block and then got hurt right before the deadline, and GMs remember that stuff. And right now he's hurt, so he's got until March 7th to show probably in more than one game that he could stay healthy. Because if not, it's going to kill his trade value.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. Now, we haven't, again, because of this Four Nations break, heard a lot more trade rumors out there, but I do think because of it, things being tempered a little bit, like, I don't think the trade market is ramping up the way it normally would be right about now in terms of overinflating value of players in general. And I'm just curious, like, how this is going to affect player value and what people are selling for at the deadline this year.
Uh, I'll say it like this: when you have a tournament like this that there's a lot of GMs at, they're talking. And they're just not divulging at the moment because players are playing. So insiders are not getting the information. I believe they're talking, and I believe that, something could happen shortly after. Just could. So I just think this is a situation where it's ramped up, but we're not hearing about it because they're all doing the same thing. And so that's nobody's breaking that. So I'm sure some conversations are happening because teams are right out of the gate. They know there's like 6 games and then it's the trade deadline. So if you don't think that they're ramping things up, no, I think they are. It's just we're not finding out about it. And as far as values, I do think some teams are going to wait till the last minute just because of the way the point system is in this league. And also, they don't want to signal too early to their fan bases that their season is essentially over. It costs them ticket money and everything else. So there's a balancing act that goes on now.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely fair. Well, speaking of the tournament that's holding up the trade deadline discussions, we had a very interesting, unexpectedly so, game between Finland and Canada that sent Canada to the final against Team USA. We're going to talk about that coming up next. Select Quote can protect your financial legacy and keep your family's future secure. Select Quote makes it easy to find the perfect life insurance policy. As one of America's leading insurance brokers with nearly 40 years of experience, they've helped over 2 million customers find the $700 billion in coverage since 1985. What sets Select Quote apart is their personal touch. Unlike other brokers that offer one size fits all policies, their licensed agents tailor coverage to fit your unique needs. If you're in good health, you might even qualify for same day coverage of up to $5 million with no medical exam required. And it's more affordable than you'd think. You can get up to $1 million in coverage for as little as $20 a month. Get the right life insurance for you for less at selectquote.com/lockedonnhl. Go to selectquote.com/lockedonnhl today to get started. Select Quote, they shop, you save. On tomorrow's show, we're going to have a special Phantoms Tuesday on a Wednesday, welcoming Maddie Campbell from Broad Street Hockey to talk Phantoms and their status at this point in the
Very
season.
knowledgeable. People should really want to hear this.
Yeah, it was a really good conversation,
It was.
and looking forward to bringing that to you. Plus, we're going to answer your mailbag questions, so get those in. You can email us at lockedonflyers@gmail.com, send us a message on any of our socials, or comment over on our YouTube channel. So this game between Finland and Canada was 5-3. Canada won, and I think, you know, all the swirl around, is Cale Makar gonna play? Is Jordan Binnington gonna be in net? Now, Cooper never wavered on Binnington.
Never.
Never for a second. He said that he specifically said that Binnington is a guy that gives you a chance to win. And it was like the confidence was high. And I think Canada's confidence was high for most of that game. And I thought Jordan Binnington played very, very well until both Canada, I think the skaters and him, kind of faltered a little bit at the end that allowed Finland to get back in it. They got within one before Sidney Crosby scored the empty net goal to seal it. But, you watched on the broadcast. I was there in person. What was your take?
I mean, my take was that Finland just didn't have the horses. And, Canada was doing what Canada does. They got up early. And if they get up early, they like to pile on. And that's when they're very confident. But again, this is a different Canada team. They have some age to it. And that started to take effect. And so they kind of took their foot off the gas a bit.
They did.
And Finland got back into it to a degree. I mean, for a half second, it was 4-3, right? But still, DraftKings gave odds on the broadcast when it was 4-1. When it was 4-1, they were giving odds. So I was just like, I remember chuckling about that. But the point is that I'm going to just say it like this. Whoever is asking for the head of Jordan Binnington, they're not going to get it. Cooper is going with Binnington. He is not changing his mind. And it doesn't matter what you write or what you say. Not only has the guy won a cup, but I don't know, this is why I defend him. I think it was 2 years ago when nobody picked the Blues again for the playoffs. He got them in the playoffs. He had another terrific year, and he got him in there. But people like to point out, look, he's out of the net, or look at this. But Cooper, and I heard his press conference, he talked about what Binnington does well. And the biggest thing he does well is move around the puck with his stick and getting it to a defenseman to get it out of the zone. And he is really good at that. And that's what he wants. And that's what
Yeah.
this offense is set up for. So that's why I think he'll still be in there.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you there. And, I talked to Jordan Bennington. He absolutely appreciated having Cale Makar back in the lineup to play in front of
Yeah, who
him
wouldn't?
there, right? And I also talked to Devon Taves pregame about, uh, what their motivation was for this game, as well as talked to him about Travis Sanheim.
Hmm.
And he mentioned specifically just how smooth Sanheim's game is. And, of course, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Just like the confidence and the way he uses his size. And that's specifically what Devon Taves mentioned. So I thought that was really interesting just to see, how appreciative he was of like
Yeah.
the Canadian defensemen who weren't necessarily in the first game, stepping up and filling in as needed. It was so great to see both Travises or
Yeah,
the
they both got
Travi
in there. But
got in.
Sanheim is always going to be able to show more in a game like this. Like Konecny
Yeah,
was trying out there, but that fourth line, they're not going to get the same kind of minutes. And look, I mean, and Bruins fans could say whatever they want about me. Brad Marchand is not the same. Brad Marchand, this version of Brad Marchand is not that good.
right. But it did having Brad Marchand on the same line as Travis Konecny got them the start in the game,
That's
100%.
it. But that because it was in Boston. If this game was
Right.
anywhere else, no.
Correct.
But
Listen, I
but what
will
did you
take
see
the
from?
side effect of Travis Konechny
Okay,
starting in the
but
game.
talk about the play of Brad Marchand. You were
Oh,
there
sure.
seeing him live.
Sure.
This is a different guy.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I thought it was an odd line, to be
It
honest. I
is.
think that like Konechny, he's pesky as far as, chirping and stuff. And, he is a little bit like that out there, but he is so much more than that.
Yeah.
That I just felt like being on a line with Bennett and Marchand was not suited to Travis Konechny's skill.
And just to be clear here too, the Carolina Hurricanes had like this a post from like a 5-year-old, like kind of like, really? No Seth Jarvis? Like, seriously? You're gonna tell me
Right.
you're gonna make an argument that Seth Jarvis has proved that he should be in the lineup over Travis Konecny? You're really gonna try and I mean, I understand social
That's
media and
ticky
all, but
tack, man.
yeah, that's just like, come on, man.
Yeah, yeah. But back to Sanheim,
Yes.
he had a really good play early on Rube Hintz.
Yep.
They kept him from a clean possession that he could have gotten a shot off, and Sanheim kept that from happening. I saw him make a few really solid defensive plays, keeping Finland from getting chances. And then, of course, he had a primary assist
Right. He
on
got his first
Braden
assist.
Point goal. He took the primary shot on that rush and
Yep.
Point scored on the rebound attempt. It was a really great play overall.
Yeah, no question. Those are things now that he's able to do that were, at times spotty maybe 2 years
Right.
ago, but no, not
No,
anymore.
he steps up offensively very comfortably now, and
Yeah.
I thought it was just really nice for him to be able to showcase that for
Yeah.
Team Canada in a way that he has not had this kind of a spotlight on his game before, and I
Yeah,
appreciate
he'll
that.
have a shot at the Olympic team, but Canada gets weird. Like I can't say he's a lock
Yeah,
because they just
I
get
know,
weird
right?
when it comes to that.
Yeah. Now, as far as kind of the rest of Team Canada there, I thought, the way that Canada shut Finland down, honestly, was putting the McDavid line out there like near
Right.
constantly,
Right,
right?
because
And just not giving him a chance to
they
get
kept
set
the
up
puck
at
away
all.
from them. That's what they did, right.
Hmm.
And I do think that works against Finland, but Finland, they have Vakanainen in there. They have guys that wouldn't even be able to sniff the US lineup. So McDavid could do that for certain plays against the US, but they're gonna lay the lumber on them. And that's what they did last game, and that's what they're gonna do again. And when you do that to Connor McDavid, it completely changes his game. Finland
Yeah.
didn't do that because they can't. They didn't have everybody keep up with them. The US does. And so I think that while McDavid, you could never like game planning against Connor McDavid is pointless because he's always going to score a goal or get a couple of assists. Like there's just nothing you could do. But what you can do is something about possessions and making sure he doesn't always have the puck. And that's what the US will do.
Yeah, I think so. We're going to talk more about that game that's on Thursday night over the next couple of days as we get more intel from the
Wishing it wasn't the
Canadian
next
players.
couple of days and it was like,
I know.
I'm sure you are too.
Yeah, I wish it was tomorrow or the
Yes.
next day,
Yep.
but Thursday night it is. So we shall see about that one. Now, the other big thing that happened in that game was that Lankinen got pulled for Saros after the fourth goal, and I thought it was
Why? It
really
was
interesting.
why did it
Why
go
didn't
so
they
long?
just make the change at the beginning of the second
Right.
period? Like that was weird to me.
Yeah, that was weird. Look, even on the Sirius XM broadcast, which is how I started listening to it, uh, he's got a 905 save percentage, which happens to be above league average. But and you know I am no fan of UC Saros, but if you're going to ask
Right.
me who would I have in net for a big game, UC Saros or Kev or Lankinen, I'm going to put UC Saros because at least the guy's played in the Stanley Cup. Like, I don't
Yep.
understand why they went with Lankinen anyhow. Like I told you, I never thought he was. I just feel like he's having this sort of career year, but it's not like an Aiden Hill year. It's a good year, but like you got a guy there in Saros that was probably so much better suited for a game like
For
this.
this game.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I didn't get it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I thought that was poor decision making from the Finland coaching
Yeah,
staff there.
and technically
Uh,
Saros held up to the no goals commercial that he did because he didn't give up one.
he d he didn't. That is absolutely true, and I thought it was also interesting. Finland changed their structure when Saros came in because Saros goes way out of the net
He
in the
does.
way that Lankinen does not, and I thought it was really fascinating to watch Finland's defensive structure completely
It
change.
completely, and
Uh,
that's the other reason they might have had a better
yeah,
chance with
yeah.
Saros. That's a great point by you.
Yeah, I thought a play Montemalo flat out got in Saros's way to prevent a shot when Saros was wandering too far
Yeah.
out of the crease. Like it was absolutely apparent that's what was happening there. But yeah, it was still like I'm glad it became sort of an exciting game
Yeah, at
for
least the
the
game.
end.
I felt like if you were a person that came from Finland, which I'm not sure anybody did, but if at least if you were driving 5 states over because you were Finnish, at least you got something. I felt good about that because I just felt bad. Like, really, is Finland going to get shut out here and people are going to have nothing to cheer about? So it was nice that they had something to
Yeah,
cheer about.
100%. All right. Well, the other game of the day was Team USA versus Sweden. We're going to talk about that coming up next.
When the game tips off, the NBA action's just getting started, and there's no better place to get in on it than FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game, or so even if you miss the opening tip-off or want to bet on the fourth quarter comeback, you could stay in the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay. I love using FanDuel's live betting feature because it keeps every moment of the game exciting. Whether I'm backing my team for a late game rally or picking a player to hit a clutch three, I never feel like I missed my chance. Plus, the app's easy to use, and when you win, you get paid instantly. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA.
All right. So USA versus Sweden, Russ. It was definitely not the game that the crowd expected and or wanted, especially from Team USA. But I think given the circumstances, so Jake Ottinger was in net
Mhm.
for Team USA. Plus, they're banged up. I mean, everybody's banged up and everybody's really sick, right?
Yeah.
So, with Matthew Kachuk being out, you know, McAvoy is banged up. Austin Matthews didn't play. They were resting him like for a precautionary reason. He'll definitely play on Thursday. But then Brady Kachuk left the game. Vincent Trocek got banged up. So, like, it was not a typical game, but still a game nonetheless. And so I think, for Sweden, especially to go out on a high note, the only team not to lose in regulation in the round robin, I think, you have to take it for what it is, right?
Yeah, I mean, there were a lot of weird things. I mean, they definitely got undermanned, and Sullivan when got interviewed on TV, said he was just juggling lines all game. I mean, there was an
Yeah.
inordinate amount of time for like 4 guys. Gensel was playing over 21 minutes, so it was a weird game in that regard. But yeah, it was better than a lot of other meaningless games I've watched. I'll say that.
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, on Sweden's side, Zibanejad wasn't playing,
Yep,
Raquel didn't play. So, it was on both sides of the ice here. And, I think that, when USA scored very early in the game, 35 seconds in, it had the feeling of a game that was going to get away from Sweden. But they're very consistent in the fact that they can get it together pretty quickly and figure out a way to win games or be competitive and stay in games that you might not think they would be. And I think they did a pretty solid job defensively in front of Urson when they had to. Wouldn't say all the time because obviously Urson faced a ton of shots,
he did.
but I think that, they got USA to go to the outside and not take their ideal shot a lot of the time, and then USA just, like, didn't capitalize on their power plays.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big part. I think they hit 3 posts. I mean, that's, there was some
Well,
luck
that
there too.
too, that's
There
for
was
sure.
there was some luck there too. But yeah, I think Sweden probably played the defensive game that Finland couldn't today,
Mhm,
and that
for sure.
certainly kept them in it. And yeah, the U.S. didn't really get that big charge going at the end. They did at the beginning, the middle. The middle was kind of like a mushy middle for the whole game. Third period was
Yeah.
pretty good though, and so yeah, it was a good game. It was a good performance by Urson, and at least that got him on the map, and that's good.
Yeah, I think so. Speaking of that, I talked to Sweden coach Sam Hallam about Sam Ersson and what led to him being put in the game in the first place and what that performance meant for Ersson and for Team Sweden. And we'll put that clip in right now.
Well, we're in a situation where we had first one goalie that didn't feel really good in the Finland game, and then we came into this day and another goalie didn't feel really well. So it opened up an opportunity for him, and I think he made the best of it and really showed that he can compete for the starting job in this team.
So, yeah, I mean, that seems pretty encouraging for
Yeah,
Sam Ersson, right?
yeah, he still has to play really well for the next year, but yeah, it's encouraging.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, yes, I think, obviously we know following him pretty regularly on the Flyers that sometimes there's a consistency issue. Sometimes he lets in a soft goal, but also he gets overused. So
Yeah.
you put all of that into consideration, and I still think he comes out as a net positive for Sweden in the grand scheme.
He does. It's just that he has competition. Markstrom wasn't
Yep.
even at this tournament, so
Well, yes.
there's competition in the next year. But he's a part of
Small
it. That's
potatoes there, Russ.
yeah, yeah,
But,
yeah. But he's a part of it, and that's all you could ask for, really.
Yeah, and obviously we're going to talk more about Team USA as Thursday approaches, but like I think it'll be really interesting to see how they approach the game on Thursday, who will be healthy, what they can do as a team, with Canada having some similar problems as well. I think just whatever's going around here has caused everybody to have to scramble and make some last minute changes. But I think it's going to be a good game.
It'll be a good game. I think now because Kreider drew in and got a goal, that he's probably going to end up playing. I don't know who's going to
I think
sit,
so too.
but I think they're just going to use that extra size, and so I think that's going to be a change for them that they probably weren't figuring on maybe before this game, but he probably proved something to them. So there's that, and then yeah, the other things will. I mean, everybody's going to play. I don't expect one of those banged up players to not play. It's just going to be how effective will they be and those kinds of things. I think the intensity will be there. I don't think this next game will start with fights or anything. So yeah, I think it'll be
No, I
close.
think they're too banged up to get
Yeah,
in the fights to begin with.
and like Matt Kachuk was on TV and he totally forgot he has a game on Saturday. So like
Right.
that's so that kind of took him by surprise. So I think,
Well,
yeah,
that's the mentality there, right?
yeah. So they have the right mentality going, but I do think they are going to fall a little short of how reckless they've sort of been playing up to this point. Brady Kachuk especially.
Yeah, I think so too. But yeah, lots more to talk about related to that game. We will do so on our Thursday show to preview that. In the meantime, on tomorrow's show, we're going to have Phantoms Tuesday on Wednesday with Maddie Campbell from Broad Street Hockey. And don't forget to answer our poll over on our YouTube channel. Asking how you're enjoying the Four Nations tournament and why. The link to that is in the show notes as well. And we will also be having a mailbag segment on tomorrow's show. And you can let us know your questions or flyers or Four Nations thoughts via any of our socials at Locked On Flyers. You can email us at lockedonflyers@gmail or comment over on our YouTube channel. I'm Rachel. I'm on Blue Sky and Twitter at rmiriam. That's RMIRIAM.
I'm Russ. I'm at Sportsology on the same socials, SPORTSOLOGY.
Thanks for making Locked On Flyers your first listen today. For your next listen, find Locked On Fantasy Hockey. Become a fantasy hockey expert. Get the edge over your league mates with daily tips from Steal and Flip. Find Locked On Fantasy Hockey on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Have a great day, everyone.